A lot of damage was done to these two buildings, commercial buildings, the Affluent Towers and the Emma Plaza, just close to the street from which this show takes its name. That's Broad Street here in Lagos. There is no direct estimates. I mean, investigations are still going on, so we're not exactly sure how much was lost to these fires. But I have someone here who could, help us unravel things about this. We are trying to count the cost of these two fires, and with me in the studio is Soji Oni. He's the controller technical of the Nigerian Insurance Association. Good to have you here.
Good afternoon, our listeners.
And so I want to find out, can you, looking at these fires, right, and the importance of these buildings, can you help us with like an estimate of how much we could be looking at lost to these fires?
Okay, let's just start by saying it's just unfortunate. Let's start with loss of life. When we're talking life of property, life comes first. Let's pray that God will give everyone, the family that lost their ones, the strength to go through the challenge. It's unfortunate and it's so sad. If we talk about the property, it's not that straightforward. And the reason is this. Number one, the property we're talking about is a commercial property that warehouse many tenants. And number one, when you're talking about that, this thing just happened recently. It takes a lot of investigation to be able to ascertain what is the actual. Now, you talk about life. We need to know how many people were in there. You see on the social media 10, 7, and not the rest. We don't work with that. When you talk about the property, you don't forget the building itself is owned by a owner. So the building can be ascertained. We know a value for that building that is being insured. But for the content, it may be difficult until each one of them were able to assess the extent of damage that is being done by the fire or the smoke, because smoke damage can also make property unusable again. So until we're able to ascertain that, and also forget that, let me stop here to say thank you to LASEMA, Lagos Safety Commission, the Federal Fire Service, the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service, all these agents and everyone that support to make sure this does not go beyond what we are talking about, because it can spread, fast spread. We have what we call fast spread. So we cannot ascertain it now. But however, there is what we call, if they have an insurance, there is an insured value. So that is our total liability. However, for us to get what happened, that's what we do. When you report that claim, we commission what the people we call loss adjusters, who will visit the scene, and with our policy document, what is being insured, they'll be able to look, first thing, to ascertain what is the extent of damage. That's the first thing. Okay, when we're able to establish what and what are being damaged, don't forget there are some that may be total loss, there are some that can be repaired, there are some that we need to restate, there are some that, so they will be able to tell us. It is that we'll be able to get the value of those property, the market value, compare with the insured value. So there are two figures here. The market, for example, the TV, to replace that TV the value might have increased now. Maybe when they insured it was 3 years ago or 10 years ago, and now we have to replace that TV bar, so the value may go. So we may not be able to estimate, but until when we get that investigation, we are told the place is under law for government to be able to do. So we wait for government report, we wait for fire service report, Lagos State Fire Service, LASEMA report, we wait for all this report. But however, I'm sure our member company that insured that building will have commissioned someone to go there.
So how does it work? When someone is commissioned to go there, what exactly, you've explained some things that the person will look out for. Yeah. But can you help us with and explain the difference between the market value and the insured value you talked about?
Okay. The value at risk, which we call the market value, for example, is the real value at the time of replacement. It's not at the time of insurance. For example, you can buy a car. Let me use property. You have a TV. You bought the TV 10 years ago. The time you bought that TV, that price at that time is the market value.
Let's say 100,000 naira.
100,000 naira. Yes. However, if you deliberately do the insurance for 70,000, that is the insured value, even though the market value is 100,000. Now, after 5 years, we are in 2025. The market value is now 250 because of that time. It was 100,000. It's now 250. That 250 is the market value against the 70,000 you insure it. So we expect you that every time you are insuring, you should make it to be with the market value, or give allowance for inflation, so that at the time we're going to settle you, we'll be able to replace you to that position you are before the loss. So there's always, when we want to settle, we settle based on the insured value compared to the market value. For example, if it is a total loss, we can't settle more than 70,000 you have insured, and 7,000 may not be able to buy you that TV again, because that TV is 250,000. So that's why we always tell our insured to make sure they increase their property, make sure it is at the same par with market value.
Now, let me ask, how do we assess and estimate other losses? So the Affluent Towers is owned by someone, a company or an entity, right? But there are other businesses inside. Now, how do we count the losses of individual businesses, of equipment and furniture?
Okay, so that's why it's small, because it's multi-tenanted building. So each tenant, the first thing first we must know is this: we look at the agreement, the list of agreement that is between the landlord and the tenant. For example, if the tenant said, the landlord said you are going to be responsible for particular maybe features or fittings that you have in that in that building, you are going to add those to your own content. Your content is what you have. You don't own the building. The landlord owns the building and the features and the fittings. However, if you bring your content in, your content is your own property that you have. But however, insurable interest can be transferred. What we mean by insurable interest is that interest you have, financial interest, that is recognized by law, whereby you will be prejudiced by the loss of that property. For example, you cannot insure my own car. It's not yours. You understand? So you cannot insure the property of the landlord. But however, the landlord can say, you are using this, for example, common content, you met in the building, maybe you met TV, let's say furnished apartment, furnished by the landlord, and he has, in the agreement or the lease agreement, he said you're going to be responsible. Then you have the right as a tenant to insure, because the right has been transferred to you. So for us to ascertain each one of them, they have to give us what you call the inventory. For example, the owner of the building will have given us, if he has a content, they will have given what you call inventory list ab initio when he was accepting that insurance. It will give us the breakdown. So you can insure it based on breakdown. Electronics, for content, for plant and equipment, for fire extinguisher, maybe a fire extinguisher plastic. It will have given us the breakdown out there. So those are what we're going to use as the basis of estimate. Now, don't forget that your estimate cannot be ascertained, estimate of loss, until we're able to investigate and ascertain that with our policy document. Don't forget, that policy document is key, because that policy document, if it tells you how the thing, for example, if we are not going to cover fire, if fire, because the cost of that fire is germane. Arson, we don't cover arson. So if that fire is a result of that, we may not be able to cover it. So it doesn't matter if we have an insurance for it. So that policy must take cover, must be liable for that property. So we want to know the proximate cause of that fire. Is it the one that is covered by the policy? If it's the one that is covered by the policy, then we can go and go. So the loss adjuster will now compare it, ascertain this is damage, is not damage. This is damage. I told you that way of we settling. We can settle by repair, by replacement, by restatement, or by cash. We can pay you cash. So if you not say this one, this one is not bad, it's just smoke, it's still working, we can work on it. That's this one is totally damaged, we cannot use it again for many reasons, then we have to. So all those settlements will be agreed. That's why the policy, the underwriter have the right to use any of those methods to be able to indemnify you. So it is when the loss adjuster get there and is able to ascertain what, because you can see some people, they can add things into it. What does not exist, they will add it to it. So he has to be there to ascertain, comparing with what we have in the policy document, then we'll be able to say this and this is the total estimate value of what is at risk that has been lost.
Now, these two fires happened last week Tuesday. The first one was at about 1 p.m. and the second one at Emma Plaza was at about 7 p.m. or thereabouts. And we were able to talk to some people, some traders who own businesses there, and listen to one of them.
It's uncountable money. Traders, I said big ones. Imagine I get some resources, 250 for one. 150 for one. I don't pay a fee for shop. Shop true, I cannot calculate it. But if I were to say, I can say it's above 30 million. Waiting the 30 million, it's above. Everything that is there is above 30 million. Waiting the 30 million. I don't know how to count it. I don't know how to calculate it. You understand? It's much. It's much. It's much.
So just listen to this person. So this jewelry seller, right?
Yeah.
So, he sold wristwatches and jewelry, and according to him, he couldn't exactly estimate
Exactly
how much he
the
lost.
problem. That's exactly the problem. You see, for traders, there's what you call stock in trade. Now, it is their duty to keep what you call stock record keeping, to keep record of their stock. But it's always difficult. And that's why one of the reason why we have people say, market people will say insurance don't insure them. Because your ability to have an accurate record stock keeping is very germane. Your opening stock, your stock received during the month, and your closing stock. But when you are not able, for example, he is not sure. You can see he's talking about over. So this is not what the writer is interested in. So we want to know what is that stock. So if you keep records, you will know that as at before the fire, even as at 5 p.m. of that day of the fire, you have sold this. This is the balance that was remained, that the fire was able to destroy. Then it won't be. So what we do is that for stock in trade, we make sure they keep, that's what you call stock declaration. They declare their stock and they keep the record. The record will not be in that place also. It must be an electronic record that can be stored somewhere, so that if fire burn the building, we can still have access to that stock.
Because I'm going to ask, what if the record books are in the building? So it has to be electronic.
It has to be. We are not doing those days when we do hard copy. You will tell you to take the second copy home to your house, so that at least fire cannot be in your house and be in your store. But now we have electronics is so wise, so we always advise is electronic, so that when you are saving a copy, you have a copy, so that as of yesterday, if you can ascertain a day before, you understand, we can know the opening stock for that day of the loss was this amount of money. Okay, what was the stock that was sold from that time to the time of the fire? Be able to. So you see, insurance, we must pay you not more than, it must be actual. And that actual is what is mystery to people, that they say insurance is why you. No, because you are not supposed to make benefit. If you are going to make benefit, we will have agreed ab initio that it's going to be a restatement policy. And that's why we will have room for betterment or need for hold. We can decide that, we have agreed, we're going to give you need for hold, or you're going to be made betterment. But you will be contribute. That agreement will be established that will call you to contribute in that betterment. But we are supposed to put you, that's called indemnity, in the position you are before the loss, as if the loss never happened. So if the loss, the fire made 20 million, let it be 20 million we are indemnifying you, not about or over, or else the excess of insurance is not going to be established.
So when the insurance person comes, how do you clarify that what the person is telling you he lost is really what he or she lost? How do you work around that?
Okay, it's a mystery. The first thing first is notification. You notify us, and when we get notification, we commission we commission a loss adjuster immediately. So immediately we commission a loss adjuster, it gets to the scene. There are a lot of things we do. We have forensic investigation. We have a lot of investigation we're going to do. Don't forget that we have the document, which is our policy document, agreement between us and you, and we know how much you have insured and addressed. And also don't forget that loss adjuster can work with other professionals. For example, he's going to work with Federal Fire Service, the State Fire Service, the LASEMA. He's going to work with them because, for example, information they will have, for example, if they are talking the cause of the fire, he's going to get it. He's going to work with the eyewitness people, like the people we saw there. He's going to work with a lot of people. So when we get there, he will be able to ascertain that information is germane. The first thing, what is the proximate cause of the loss? Is it the one that is covered under the policy? If it's yes, if the IS is yes, we move forward. So what is those content, or even the building can be affected, that is affected, we will start doing, then we'll look at it, like I said, it will start doing the adjustment. What is the room for the amount we're going to set to the person based on just in the policy comparing to the voluntaries. If there is under insurance, we're going to penalize the person. That means you deliberately underinsure your property. So if there is under insurance, we will. And if there is over insurance too, there is a way we address that to make sure we put you back in your position. But however, the cooperation of the customer makes it more easy for us, because he will be able to tell us is the risk owner. We are not the risk owner. He's the one using the office or the shop. is the one that can tell us what happened based on what happened. Then we'll carry out investigation. That's why I talk about forensic will come in. We'll start ascertaining what is the cause of that fire. By the time we take it to the lab, with the engineers are not dressed, then when we bring accountant, we bring forensic accountant into it. So they will look at the books. They are experts in books. They'll be able to look at the books and be able to ascertain what and what is the appropriate amount that is being lost. So
approximately how long does this process take?
The process doesn't. Notification is immediate. We expect you these days now with your phone. You can notify your underwriter with SMS, not WhatsApp. You can do that. Go online and then when we commission, like I told you, immediate. No underwriter will wait 1 day. When there's a fire loss, no 1 day, because anything can happen. Don't even forget that we are supposed to set our member to be there immediately so that we don't incur another further loss to stop the fire from happening. Because like I told you, fire is a spread. Then there is what we call theft as a result of fire. If you don't take charge of the other property that's not being damaged, you will see that those property can be stolen, and you start having the person will sell the property because it was the fire that makes it to lose the property, and you start asking on the to come and pay. So we do that immediately. Then our law suggests that there's what you call interim report. That interim report takes a day, 2 days, a day. They will quickly tell the director that we have been to the site of the scene, this and this and this and this. However, the final report investigation will continue. That enough. That interim report, the director can start what we call make a reserve. A reserve is saying, oh, let's look at this. Let's keep 40 million aside for this amount of claim, even though we don't know the actual yet. You understand? It gets on the right. So when he commit the other thing, maybe use other people, he carries on. Once that thing has been final report has been done, underwriter will give what you call offer. Offer means, oh, you have reported a claim of 30 million, but this is the offer of 20 million. With a reason why we are giving you 20 million, or we are giving the whole 30 million. And if the insured executes that offer that is being communicated in a discharge voucher, it takes our member a day, 2 days, 3 days to settle the claim. We have our members that get it. So the cooperation of how the thing will be done lies with the insured. If you cooperate with us on time with our representative, that claim is settled immediately. Don't also forget, where there is a business interruption, we make sure we settle that matter immediately to avoid business interruption increasing. For example, the person has locked the shop. Let's situation with it. There is no government intervention in it. We make sure the person go back to business on time, so that the business interruption will be minimal. Because the more we delay the material damage, the more the man is incurring interruption, and it will affect his business, and it will make us to pay more. So the earlier the better we find alternative, do a lot of things to make sure the man go back, maybe alternative accommodation to start running his business. We quickly look for alternative, or these are plans that we do to make sure that, so underwriters, they are very responsible when it comes to issue of fire, because especially when it's being combined with business interruption, we make sure we quickly settle it so that we don't have a spread of what should have been.
Now, if you have the data, can you help us with the insurance penetration rates for businesses in Nigeria? Is there any data you have you can share with us?
When we talk about insurance penetration, it's still less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
It's still less than 1%. But we are so hopeful that this year is going to be amazing. Don't forget, if I say it's less than, don't also forget that it depends on the population we're talking about. You understand? Let me commit our population. I see when people say South Africa is 12%, this one is that. However, look at population.
But should it matter percentage? Really shouldn't matter with population. I mean,
no, you have to look at it, because in their own they use figures. We have our pension separated from insurance. They have their own combined.
Okay, so how can you? I want to ask you this. How so Lagos? I'm speaking to Sojioni. He's the controller technical of the Nigerian Insurance Association, and we're looking at the fires that happened on Lagos Island last week. The two fires, the first one at Affluent Towers, a 7-story building, and the second one, Emma Plaza, I think is a 4-story building or so.
The 4-story, yeah.
Destroyed properties, both properties and businesses. Particularly, let me get back to that of Emma Plaza. There were several businesses operating there, and like you said, 1%. So it's likely, let's assume that only 1% or at most 5% of the businesses they are insured. How can you talk to Nigerians, right? Nigerian businesses, small and medium businesses, about insurance? What's the importance of insurance? Why should I insure my business?
The first thing you should know is this, that why I need to insure my business is to first of all transfer my risk. The risk of these things that happen, you can see what happened. Nobody knows when anything can happen. We don't pray for it, and when it happens, you will have someone. So you need to protect your property, your asset, your life. You need to protect. That's why you have life insurance. So that's the first thing, protection. Transfer that risk to someone to get that protection. You don't need to. Those days, those days in Lagos when you will see people prostrating for if they eat someone on the road, you prostrate on the road. Pass me, match me. People don't do that again because you have third party. Because I have an insurance now, I can tell them, sorry, you apologize, I'm sorry. Then so the same thing give you peace of. Second thing, give you peace of mind. Because when you have that insurance, it's not that you will. Don't forget what you are covering. Insurance cover is unexpected, not fortuitous, unaccidental. It's not that you are deliberate about it. It happens. Accident do happens, and when it happens, somebody will be able to call. So there is a peace of mind. There is what we call risk management. We help you manage your risk. For example, if you do your insurance, there's what you call inspection. We'll come down to the place, survey it. We call it risk survey. We'll be able to give you what you call risk improvement recommendation. Do not put this here. Do not put this here. Take it here.
We're right back. We have a sacred time that we need to just go on a quick break. So we'll be right back shortly.
Quick catch up. Big issue. Stock watch. Tip of the week. The number. These. Much more on the Broad Street Drive on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
So it's still the Broad Street Drive on Nigeria Info 99.3 FM. I am Hilary Nnoruka, and with me in the studio is Mr. Soji Oni. He is the controller technical of the Nigerian Insurers Association. And just before that short break, you were talking to business owners in Nigeria, small and medium scale businesses that don't quite understand the need for them to insure their businesses. So can you just complete what you were saying?
So I was talking about risk management, that we have what you call the surveyors who will survey the risk and will give you what you call risk improvement recommendation that will help your business. For example, if you're a trader, will help you to know how you will. For example, I'm talking about the stock record keeping now. Our surveyor will have told you how to keep the record, how to do it, so that you'll be able to ascertain at all time how to manage fire extinguishers that you need to put and all the rest. So, for example, the entire premises, how they need to have it, what they need to do, the evacuation process and all the rest. So it just goes a long way. We run the business with you as if nothing will happen because partners together with you. So for any business, if you look at the capital, the investment you have put in it, you will know that you cannot go to bed without having insurance in place.
So finally, I think we have less than 2 minutes to be out of here. I want to paint a scenario, right? Let's do a case study. I have a building. I'm done with the building. It cost me £1 billion, and I want to insure the building, up to the market value, £1 billion. Take me through the process. What do I need to do? And give us the figures.
Okay.
And if you can do this in 1 or 2 minutes, fine.
The figures, there are a lot of things that determine the premium you will pay.
Yes, go ahead.
Is the occupancy, the occupation you do in the building. The building we use for a bakery is different from the building we use for a multi-purpose something. It's different from where I'm the only one. You are the only one that occupy the building with your business. There are two different things. When you have multiple, like Afriland, it shows that you have multiple. Unlike Afriland is the only one that occupy it. The risk differs. The structure, the age of the building goes a long way. The value and the replacement value when there is a loss. For example, some content can be what we have to imagine: a church in Lagos Island that has been built by the Brazilian, and you are insuring it now. That means we have to get experts to come and give us that structure, and you do it on restatement. So many things affect. So it's not straightforward that we can give. It's not only the value that goes a long way. Your housekeeping goes a long way. If you are not a very good risk how would I call it, how to manage risk, you are careless about risk, your premium will go higher. So there are a lot of things that determine the premium you pay. That is why the first thing, when you fill the proposal form, we will send what we call it risk assessment. We'll do the risk assessment of the building, identify the risk in the building, of you the building, we'll evaluate it, and from there we'll be able to treat it for you.
So from there we'll be able to treat it from you. And so Lagos, you've heard him, and I think every business should have insurance.
Yes.
Cover. It's less than 1%. Let's boost that up in Nigeria. And thank you so much, Lagos, for listening to me. I wish we had more time to discuss this, but I'll be back again with the Broad Street Drive next week, Monday. Up next is the news. Give on Ohaifu, who is already here.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it